Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Revenue Ops Alignment with ABM. Today we have Anastasiia. Hi Anastasiia.
Hi, thanks for having me.
From N.Rich. N.Rich is a ABM and buying intent platform. And today we will actually talk about how N.Rich is drinking their own champagne, meaning how do they implement ABM, and how actually RevOps sits on top of that and enables ABM. Anastasiia, tell us a bit more about you and why you are the best person to talk about RevOps within N.Rich with the mix of ABM.
Well, I'm a team of one at N.Rich, so you won't have anyone else to speak to about this where RevOps is concerned. So I've kind of monopolized the topic for us. But I guess my speciality has always been RevOps from scratch. So any org I've joined either had no operational support whatsoever before I've come there, or they had something, but it was done by the CEO, or they had something but it was completely disorganized. So when I joined N.Rich, it was very much with the plan of setting up this function from scratch for them. And one of the very first questions I've asked is, are you guys doing ABM? And they said no. And I said, why? So we've it's just one of those things, like the guys have always had their own marketing flows, and the SDR function has been very established and very successful for a very long time, even before I joined. So ABM was going to be a brand new concept completely. So we kicked off the project. When was it now? It must have been April. So we're well underway with it now, and it's been a journey, but I think throughout it, I've kind of discovered exactly how much work is required from operations when ABM is involved. It's like, sales and marketing decide to do it, and then you're like, oh, I actually have to do the whole thing myself. So thanks, guys.
but tell us more a bit how N.Rich works, and because I would like to understand a bit about the platform. And then how you guys use it internally to run ABM. Do you use N.Rich? Do you use some other tools? Would like to understand more on that.
Sure. So where N.Rich is concerned, it's like you said, it's intent data, it's ABM advertising. So at the very core of it is the advertising platform. So even for folk who don't like intent data for one reason or another, there is this advertising platform that they can use. And effectively what you do is you define your segments, like your ICP, within HubSpot or within N.Rich itself. And you create the content that you'd like to. I mean, most marketing teams already have their content, right? But you input the content that you'd like to showcase to these accounts, and then you target these accounts through advertising. And the nice thing about N.Rich, and which is why I like it as opposed to the tools that I've had to use in the past, is that it does a lot of the optimization for you. So where marketers would be typically used to going into their ad platform and going, oh, okay, this ad is not performing well on these particular days in this segment, and then have to tweak it themselves, N.Rich will do that grunt work for them. And then I guess the other really nice thing is that we don't look at irrelevant engagement. So where a lot of advertisers and a lot of advertising platforms will track things like impressions, we don't look at that at all. We look at clicks, we look at the actual conversions, and we look at what you would call a significant impression. So like a video view over a certain limit of seconds, or an article read where they've actually read some of the article rather than just had it appear on the page.
Okay.
So in that sense, a kind of time saving, money saving, and the results are stuff that you can actually see tangibly rather than like an obscure thing.
So let's explain a bit that, because
Mhm.
I know that there are different school of thoughts when it comes to that. And to simplify it, one is the one where you have topic intent data,
Mhm.
like Zoom Info, I think also uses that type of, where essentially, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're the expert, you're in this industry, but what I understood is that these companies buy a lot of data from different publishers. Let's say they buy data from Bloomberg, and there is a lot of different type of content that they will segment into topics, right? So then, if you go on Bloomberg on a particular article, and that article is in a topic, now
Mhm.
they would cross check that with the IP, right? So they would say, okay, a IP of the visitor. So they say if someone from Google visits this article of in Bloomberg on this particular topic,
Mhm.
that's how they can let's say track the company and the topic. Now
Yeah, essentially. Mhm.
essentially that's it, right? And then the idea is that it will be they constantly monitor, and whenever there is a spike in a particular topic in consumption, that we signal, hey, this company might be in this buying intent of this particular topic, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's it.
this
That's
is
where
what N.Rich does also, right?
yeah, that's exactly what it does. There is also that's where topics and keywords are concerned. The
Mm-hmm.
other type of data that gets sold as intent data is like news, and
Mm-hmm.
I have very strong opinions on this. So
So-called
it's
scoops, how they call them, right?
yeah, it's things like company X has just received funding or
Mm-hmm.
company Y has just hired this person. And I just don't think that's intent. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
very like even from a personal experience of giving this data to SDRs, like they'll call it, they'll do the outreach, and they're amongst thousands of others who are approaching these companies with the same message of "Hey, congrats on your funding," and it just ends up going nowhere. So, yeah, it's one of those like I've just formed my opinion on this, and I'm too old to change it now.
Yeah, and I think what matters to what matters here, just to dive a little bit into RevOps,
Mm,
is also the that we have this intent data, but we need to build our first party intent data, right?
mm, exactly.
Which RevOps comes in.
Yeah,
So
that's it.
uh, drive us through a little bit. How do you guys use N.Rich, but how do you guys also do the whole first party intent data in HubSpot for your company, you actually as RevOps manager?
Sure. So if you think about it, the goal of acquiring third party intent data or doing ABM or anything like that is to generate first party intent at the company level, right? So the goal of us going out to a set list of account is to position ourselves as a supplier in the area that they are interested in already.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, to drive them to our website, and thirdly, because we're doing ABM, we have SDRs working in tandem, even with our marketing campaigns. So the third goal is to make the SDR's job easier because we're warming up the account with all this advertising and all this messaging and all this content, and then the SDR goes in and they're able to convert them. So the overall goal is to get the account from a completely cold stage where they don't know anything about you or about ABM, or an account that knows about ABM but not about you, and have first party intent associated to that account. Um, Sounds very simple when you boil it down. It's it's not. Effectively, what we've done is. First of all, we've tidied up our ICP definitions, and we've generated like an ICP profile for the customers that we absolutely want to work with, and we've called it tier 1. Then we've generated an ICP profile for customers that we also want to work with, but not quite as much, and that's our tier 2. And then our tier 3 encompasses the rest of the ICP. So our campaigns and our SDRs are targeting mainly tier 1 and tier 2. These tiers we've defined in HubSpot, we've pushed them into N.Rich, and N.Rich now runs the advertising campaigns for us. And I
Before
guess
you go forward, I need to ask you, who decided and how did you decide this on tier 1? Because it's like, it's easy to say we have a tier 1 list, but a lot of the listeners is like, okay, I also want to have a tier 1, but I had so many back and forwards with my team that I gave up. So what worked? How did you choose that Tal, and who chose it?
there is so much trauma.
I know. I know.
I can't begin to tell you. So
That's why I opened the Pandora box.
yeah. So we had a lot of very heated, very long discussions about this. And mainly they went like this. So sales will tell me that they want to target someone, and I would go, hold on. A month ago, you told me you want to target someone completely the opposite. So which is it? So part of it was me keeping people kind of accountable for what they said a month ago, because there's no way that an ICP can change within a month. Like, I just don't believe it. But part of it was really that so this is the odd thing, right? We had documentation of our ICP, and we had an idea already of what works, because obviously N.Rich's been running for a while and we have an established customer base. But what we didn't want to do is keep doing the same things, because we've noticed that the market has changed. We've noticed that our prospects are behaving differently. And we've also noticed that the sales cycles in some of our prospect categories, so for example, for the US, have either doubled, tripled, or we just can't access them anymore, because some of the companies we were targeting, are struggling for money right now. So we've decided to change it, and we've decided to split things into tiers, because we knew that we had to make a slight shift in direction in terms of who we're targeting and why. But it was an enormously long process.
But this came from you. I just want to understand also your role in this, because you have a marketing team. A marketing team, I suppose, was involved in all this, right?
It was a whole team thing. So we've got a very lean leadership team. So it's me as head of RevOps. We've got a head of marketing, head of sales, head of SDR, and the only other person is the CEO on the leadership team. So it's not a big group to get consensus from, but it's also big enough that there are a lot of opinions.
But
there's
you essentially facilitated this whole discussions, right? Like, this
yeah.
is a role of a RevOps, because we are trying to understand also in a ABM motion and go-to-market strategy, right? If we choose ABM, RevOps is the one that is facilitating and trying to make all these alignments between the sales, the marketing, and maybe sometimes the customer success. So for the people listening, we need to make it clear that this is a responsibility that RevOps is facilitating, right? Not
Look,
necessarily.
I mean, RevOps is the voice of reason in the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately we facilitate. I don't believe in a RevOps function that dictates to other departments what they can and can't do.
Mm-hmm.
So my role in this was to be the little gremlin in the corner who goes, actually, this isn't right. Or be the person who said, no, actually, you said a month ago that we're doing this, and the direction can't change that quickly. And then also to say, okay, let's document this, and let's make sure that we've got it all written down, all those kind of things. But I don't think RevOps can define ICP on its own, because RevOps people don't sell. RevOps people don't actively market. and we sure as hell don't do any outbound outreach. So we
Mm-hmm.
have to take direction from the team that actually do those things, and they're, sometimes anecdotal and sometimes data driven insights as well. So I think where anything with ABM is concerned, I would have RevOps act as the project manager
Mm-hmm.
and the delivery team where the setup of it is concerned, and obviously the documentation and reporting and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was very much a team effort throughout, I would say.
That's interesting. So now you have all these things set up. If you think of someone who is just getting started with ABM in HubSpot, from all your learnings, from all the things that you implemented, what would you advise or to do, like a must that people usually ignore?
Um, I don't think people ignore this, but I think they're too scared to do it because it seems a long task. But clean up your database.
Data
So
quality.
that is the biggest thing, because if you're basing your ICP on parameters that you don't have in your database already, then you are behind. You're behind everyone, basically. So it's about making sure that you have all the fields that you need to actually define your ICP. Then it's about making sure that the data quality of what you have is good enough to target. And then it's also about creating all of the tags for your team to be able to actually, make those lists and go after those companies where SDRs are concerned, and then also notify of any changes to those. So database design for ABM should be the number one priority. So if anyone's getting started with this, I would look at that first. Because ultimately you're just going to get to the end of it and realize you can't analyze anything because you haven't structured it properly. But I'd also say, just in general, and this is from our experience of doing it, is start it earlier than you think you want. Like, start the whole project a few months before you think you need to get it started, because it takes a while. And it's not just the data cleanup, it's the aligning everyone and it's making sure that everyone agrees on stuff, because you do really have to have consensus between all departments before doing something like this. Yeah, and that takes a very long time, and it's traumatic for everyone involved.
Mm. And from your experience, what's that one thing that costed you a lot of money in terms of budget, but was not really needed that much, and was something that could have been ignored initially?
Do you know what? I can't tell you that we've spent money like that much. We've wasted money on anything yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't think we have. We have invested quite a lot into our database itself. So we do use quite a few different suppliers to actually design our account lists and make sure that our tags are all in
So what do you
place.
guys use? Zoom Info, Cognizant, Apollo,
Um, no,
all
we
of them?
use combination of built with Crunchbase and Apollo for
Mm-hmm.
like further enrichment, basically. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
between built with and Crunchbase, we get our account list sorted. So yeah, so the data was okay.
By the way, I was blown away that BuildWith is a one-person company, which
Is
is
it?
crazy. Which is crazy for me, but yeah,
I didn't know that. That's mental.
yeah, that's crazy. Like, Jesus.
There's a really good that whoever that person is a very great person. So
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so database was okay. N.Rich, obviously, we get for free. I'd be surprised if we were charged for using that.
Mm-hmm.
And HubSpot, so it's quite interesting actually, because we don't use Marketing Pro because we have the N.Rich advertisement platform. So
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't even say that we've kind of wasted money there where we could have had another advertiser. So in general, N.Rich has always been about optimizing costs and being very lean. So any
Mm-hmm.
kind of new purchase is always examined very, very closely. Like, can we do this in another way? Can we do it can we do it cheaper? Can we do it leaner? Can we do it better? And that's quite close to my heart as well. So we've not wasted money yet. Fingers crossed. We won't come to that place.
Interesting for that. Actually, that's a good point that you can do ABM without Marketing Pro, right? Like HubSpot Marketing Pro, which means that you can always get started with having this motion and being more relevant, even though you don't have big budgets, right? I want to talk a bit about how you guys do the whole um, research, or how do you get relevant to those companies that you target? Because many times this is one of the biggest issues that I saw, that we RevOps people, we are living in this techno bubble. We might set everything nicely up, but in the end, those creatives, those ads, that messaging, that positioning is not actually aligned to the jobs to be done in the companies that we target, or in the personas that you target. So how did you guys deal with that? Because this is essentially an important part of the whole RevOps. I mean ABM campaigns.
Yeah, and I think we're quite in a unique position here because the the departments that we target for N.Rich are sales, marketing, and RevOps, and all of the people that we have in these departments on our side have some kind of experience with ABM, or they've used an ABM tool before, they've used intent data before. So actually our biggest asset for content and for relevancy is our own people. So our head of marketing does a really great job of researching and asking people what they think internally before she even goes out to anyone with any external content. A lot of our kind of thought leadership stuff is coming from the internal expertise that we have on this topic as well. So it's not, I guess we're not really a good example of a company that needs a lot of positioning and a lot of adjustment where content is concerned. But we are always kind of checking ourselves and reassessing, like, are we talking about this from our point of view, or do we think this will be relevant to someone else as well? But yeah, it's an interesting question, but just not something that we necessarily come up against because we are our own buyer personas, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh. You are very lucky in that sense, for sure. Because yeah, you exactly know what are the jobs to be done, right? So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. When it comes to new things that you would like to try, I would like to know what are those innovations that you see. What are those things that you saw with other companies, or you read about, that you thought, okay, this is something that I didn't try, but this is my top 3 ideas in ABM or in RevOps that you would like to give a try, or that is in the, let's say, roadmap.
In RevOps in general, I've got one.
RevOps or even ABM.
Yeah. So where in RevOps in general, so I'm always complaining about data suppliers, and I
Mm-hmm.
heard on the grapevine that someone's developing a thing where it's basically a bidding platform. So you input your desired like company and contact parameters, and then this platform lets you bid, lets providers bid on providing contact data to you. So effectively, instead of putting all of your money into one data provider and saying, okay, you do this for me. You're able to access multiple databases and actually get the best results that way. I just think that's a great idea. And purely because I know that there isn't one data provider that has all of the stuff. And I think it's just, yeah, it's mental that we haven't developed something like that before.
Okay,
Where
it's
where
interesting.
ABM is concerned, I think I've been curious about gifting for a very long time and how that can actually work in
Mm-hmm.
B2B. I know we've got some of our team who have come over from gifting platforms, so ABM, but done with gifts. And I know from myself, I'm the kind of person who you give me a voucher and I'll set a demo. I don't care. So obviously, it would be good to see something that does that, but also helps you build up that relationship with the client, so that it's not just I'll give you a voucher and you set a demo and you disappear, but we'll have a demo and then I'm able to keep up that relationship. So something that we've thought about is perhaps like a coffee voucher, something that can be redeemed as a thank you rather than as a incentive to attend. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's always people like me in the world who would do anything for a voucher.
Got it. That's something that we did internally
Mm,
with our current customer and past customers, and it does make a big impact. We didn't do vouchers necessarily. I'm not big fan of that, but we did actually real gifts, right? Like we send them a package with different stuff. We partnered with a company here that does more like business gifts.
mm,
So we went to some of the suppliers, but our being an agency, we had such a small audience, and like we had around, I don't know, 40, 50 companies that we sent these gifts to. And when we went out to the suppliers like the Sendosa and the Reach Desk and all of those, they had a minimum of 15K USD. So we said that, okay, we will do it on our own. We will try to find a supplier, and we found actually an e-commerce supplier, and we turned them into a gifting for ABM. We actually recommended them to some of our clients, and they use the same method with them.
mm.
We even built some automation in HubSpot, that whenever we are some field is filled in, like gift, send, prepare a gift, then we send an email to these guys, and these guys prepare it and send them to the client. So
You
we did.
basically forced a company into a completely different territory.
Yeah, exactly. Because we were telling them, guys, either way, you are a business gifting company,
Mm,
we choose already what gift we want to send to our clients. So that was the simplification of things, because all these other platforms, you have more like a marketplace. So we said, no, you will send this particular package that you made for us, and you will send it to all of them when you
um,
receive this email. So, and that really worked, and it was like I don't know, 10 times uh, cheaper than going with the. So the thing is that if you have a company like a gifting company, a gifting SaaS, or these type of companies, we tend to believe that we can do gifting only if we have those platforms sometimes, right?
mm.
Or while you could actually build it on your own. And this is the maybe the Eastern European mindset kicking in,
It
where you're like,
completely is.
okay, so let's reverse engineer how is this platform actually working with gifting, because in the end what matters is that they get the gift. It's the that emotional impact that you can make to that customer that you work with, right? Like
Mm,
yesterday I just got a screenshot from Roland, a client of ours in Amsterdam, that, oh wow, thanks a lot, we will also send something. Yeah. And a year ago, a client from Munich sent me, believe it or not, a full box of 30 glasses of beer from Oktoberfest,
Nice.
and they just send it over, right?
Mm.
So no platform, no nothing. They just send over 30 bottles of beer, right?
Mm.
So I think um, in ABM we need to think beyond sometimes the all the tech and all these technologies and tech bubble, because ABM at the end of the day is marketing from the 80s, right? Like targeted account list, you hit the road and you try to make relationship with
Yeah,
those guys, right? Like
complete.
that's
I
it.
think everyone can get a bit of a Eastern European mindset from this chat. Because I know, like, I've gone through this all my life. Like, someone tells me I've got a platform for this, and I go, well, actually, I can build it with a little bit of sellotape and like a little bit of spit, so and it will work exactly the same.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
obviously, some platforms like HubSpot, you cannot build it, because I saw
well,
the
yeah.
reverse also. I saw Eastern European companies wanting to develop their own CRM, and
Mm,
then they end up paying more for the developers and more for all the things because they wanted their own CRM, while you know you don't have the same experience. But with gifting, let's be honest, it's like not rocket science to
no.
send to
Well,
someone a
yeah,
gift.
there's some things that you mess with and some things that you don't. Like, I
Yeah,
know I've got a whole host of reporting in HubSpot, and if I can't do something in HubSpot, we have Google Sheets, which is why I've always been like very iffy about any other data visualization tools. But it's things like that, right? But you have to have a solid foundation first. So I would always invest into like a one nice piece of software, and then if I can't do anything in there, um, that probably means I've chosen the wrong one. But yeah, more of Eastern European mindset, but not where CRMs are concerned.
exactly. Or ad platforms.
Or ad platforms. I'm going to get fired. uh,
Exactly. Great. So while while we end up the call, give us some recommendations, resources, where you go and where you learn about RevOps and ABM.
do you know what? I get asked this a lot, and I'm always stumped. But with ABM, there's so much there. Like if you Google ABM, I think there's like a million results or something stupid like
Yeah.
that. There's just a lot. But I would really, really recommend that people join up communities before they go to a particular resource. So anything like RevOps Co-op, RevGenius, there's loads of marketing communities as well. There's B2B Rocks, for instance, loads of ABM podcasts too. But with anything like that, with any resource that you find, what I would say is just think about how it applies to your business, because a lot of the resources that are published from a point of view of this is how we did it. And I'm very aware that I've just preached about how to do ABM from our perspective as well. So think about who's writing it, think about who's reading it, and the context that it would apply in, and just cherry pick what applies to you. But yeah, communities have been my go-to space for learning anything about in the RevOps space or in marketing and ABM spaces as well. Obviously, have to plug our own blog because we have a lot of really good content. So we write about just the very basics, like the ABCs of ABM. We've got loads of supplier lists and everything like that people can go for. Yeah, it's quite a useful place if I say so myself. But yeah, communities, and always think about what you're reading because not everything is applicable.
That's a good one. Thanks a lot for this. Communities for sure. I also would recommend Pavilion. It's a really great community um, to learn. And whenever I was stuck with ABM or even with the revenue operations, coming up with ideas, I would always go in those communities actually help and get feedback. Also, you, Anastasia, gave feedback to some of my posts there in RevOps course. Thanks for that.
That's okay.
Great. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Anastasia, for the nice conversation. And let's be in touch.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Anastasia.